held by internet, I need to read out to you a shorter statement. Welcome to Sedgemoor District Council Grants Awards Subcommittee. The meeting is being held as an advisory meeting and will make recommendations to support the leader of council to take the final decision in line with powers vested in the leader in the Constitution, noting that the Grants Awards Subcommittee is a subcommittee of the executive. Excuse me. For each application, I will ask members to propose and recommend a course of action, and these will be sent to the leader of council for his determination. Hopefully, those present will hear the meeting. However, in the event of a technical failure, I will adjourn the meeting and set a new time to reinstate the meeting. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. All members of the committee should have their videos on, but will remain muted until I invite them to speak. All members of the press and public will remain muted unless they are registered to speak, and I will let them know when they can make their representations. The format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. I will now ask officers and other councillors who will be taking part in this meeting to confirm that they can see and hear me and to introduce themselves. So may we start, I don't know if my screen is the same as yours. For me, starting at the top, going clockwise, Councillor Charlie Richards.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Charlie Richards, member for Cheddar and Shipham. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alan Matthews.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair. Alan Matthews, representing Highbridge and Burnham Marine. I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Julie Cordiner.
Hello everyone, Councillor Julie Cordiner from Victoria Ward. Can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Liz Perry.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Liz Perry, ward member for the King's Isle ward. I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Shannon May.
Shannon May, grants officer. I can confirm I can see and hear everything.
Councillor Brian Bolt.
Yeah, Brian Bolt, ward member for Cannington and Wemburn. I can see and hear the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Redman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Councillor Lee Redman, councillor for the Handpairer. I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Councillor Graham. I always have a problem here. Graham.
Graham Edwin Pearson from
I don't know what I'm so sorry.
In here the meeting.
Thank you. I'm Janet Keane, member for Highbridge and portfolio holder for Communities and Wellbeing. I will now go to the officers who are supporting us. Layla Nicholson.
Thank you, Chairman. My name's Layla Nicholson. I'm the committee manager for this afternoon's meeting. I can confirm I can see and hear everyone.
Thank you. Steve Taylor.
Good afternoon, Chairman. I'm Steve Taylor. I'm supporting the meeting from Democratic Services.
Thank you very much. That is all the members and supporting officers. So take away that paper. The agenda proper, to start with, do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from Councillor Costello. I'd also like to mention that the legal officer is here. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Dorothy, I'm so sorry, I didn't mention you. Could you confirm that you can see and hear?
I can indeed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dorothy, and apologies again. There are no urgent business that I've been notified about, and the public speaking time, this will be as each item on the agenda, each application is heard, the applicant, if present, will be invited to speak then. Oh, sorry, I'm using two screens and the other one is noisy. Declarations of interest, members. No, I have one declaration. It's not a declaration of interest, but it is merely for transparency. One of the items on this agenda is to do with a project by the Friends of the Princess Theatre in Burnham-on-Sea. I am a member of the Town Council, which owns and manages the Princess Theatre, but I do not have any connection with the management of this, the Friends of the Princess, nor do I have any connection or input into the policy and resources of the Town Council, which issues grants to all applicants. And I feel that that should be noted for the sake of clarity. Thank you. Councillor Anna Matthews.
Yes, Chair, I just want to repeat exactly what you said, and said that other than going to the Princess to watch some rather wonderful productions, which I thoroughly recommend to people, I have no interest other than being on the Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dorothy, as our legal advisor, you're satisfied that is sufficient?
I am, Chair.
Thank you. And now we come to the applications direct. The first one is an individual application on behalf of, and maybe scroll down, Theony Kane. Shannon, would you like to introduce this one?
So Appendix A is an individual applicant, Theony Kane. She is currently a regional level competitive swimmer. I have received a statement from the parents in which they would like me to read on their behalf today, as they're unable to make it. So first,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Firstly, many apologies for not attending today. We are currently travelling back from a family holiday. It would mean so much to Theony to be awarded this grant. Like so many children, she has suffered hugely throughout the lockdowns, but has impressed us massively with her utter determination and drive to further her swimming success. She constantly badgers her coach for more training sessions and harder sets to help her improve. The weekend before last marked the first competition since the pandemic began, and once again, Theony demonstrated her unwavering commitment to progress up the national rankings. Sorry about the barking in the background. Theony is currently ranked 3rd in Southwest and 15th in England for the 400 metre individual medley, 3rd in Southwest and 23rd in England for the 200 metre individual medley, and 2nd in the Southwest and 22nd in England for the 200 metre backstroke. This grant will help improve Theony with resources, kit and contribution towards meet entries she'll need to continue to pursue her dream of competing at national level and beyond. Thank you for taking the time to consider Theony's application. Kindest regards, Liz and Martin Kane, which is Mum and Dad. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. As you can see from the papers, the detail of this application does meet with all the criteria. So members, are there any comments or questions that you would like to ask that Shannon, I'm sure, has got the answers for? No, in that case, may I have a proposer? I had a message flash up from Councillor Lee Redmond, but it disappeared off my screen again. Is there a problem with his IT?
I think, Chairman, he's just had to go and sort something out, so he'll be back. So I'll just note that he left the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And then hopefully he'll just let us know when he's back in. Thank you.
Julie, your hand is up.
Yeah, I would just like to propose to support this, really. I think it's, you know, it's the young person seems to have great tenacity, and it's a lovely thing to support.
Absolutely right. May I have a seconder? Councillor Brown Bolt had your hand up.
Yeah, just quite happy to second that.
Thank you very much. This has been proposed and seconded. May I have the show of hands of all in favour? I agree. That looks unanimous. If Theona's parents could be informed, and with our very best wishes for her success in future. Thank you. The next application is the Breen and Barrow Good Neighbours Voluntary Group. Shannon, could you introduce this, please?
So Appendix B is Barrow and Breen Good Neighbours. This group have a vision for all people in the communities where everyone will become a good neighbour to create a loving community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And this group does have a representative present. Sherry Cannon-Jones. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Should be unmuted now.
Would you like to enlarge and give more detail of this extremely interesting initiative?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm actually in place of Liz Millard, who is one of the members of the board, and she has given me a statement to read. But from my point of view, I'm very new onto the committee of the project, and we've had our first 2 meetings of our cafe hub, which were really successful, and it's part of the vision for sort of raising the profile of the project within the communities of Barrow and Breen. So I'll read this statement from Leslie. The Good Neighbours Group was formed as part of the local church's work on partnership for missional church. We sought to explore ways of fulfilling the community.
Jerry, stop
Yes.
a minute.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Chairman. Can I just ask, Sherry, could you your internet, you sound a bit like a robot and we can't actually understand you very well. Can I suggest you turn your camera off? It could be just your internet connection's not particularly great.
Okay.
Try taking your camera off.
Okay.
That will give you a bit more broadband width, and hopefully your sound.
Is that any better? Is that any better?
Marginally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must apologise. My internet this week has been absolutely horrendous. I've been trying to work and it's been really, really bad. So I will try my best for you to be able to understand. So the Good Neighbours Group was formed as part of our local church's work on missional church. We sought to explore ways of fulfilling our mission in the community. After a year of data analysis and talking to people using questionnaires, we decided we wanted to reach out to those who are lonely and isolated in our communities. We also wanted to work with others in the community who were already working hard to support people. This has been especially true over the last year. In 2020, we formed a small group of people, including Mike Wise, Chair of Parish Council, Paul Helland, Site Manager of the Village Hall and Primary School, Kim Wilcox, Village Agent, Leslie Millard, St Mary's Church, Elaine Bailey, St Bridget's Church, and Robert Pearce, Church Warden at St Mary's Church. After looking at what was already present in the villages, we decided that there were 2 things we wanted to do. The first was to create a welcome booklet that would be given out to anyone moving into the area. It would contain all the information about services and organisations within Barrow and Breen. This has now been completed and delivered to both villages. The second and major initiative was to start community hubs and cafes in both village halls. We now have a project committee and our own bank account. A constitution has been agreed, and we are putting together policies and insurance. We have set up working relationships with Sedgemoor District Council, Citizens Advice, Age UK, the Food Bank, Barrow WI, and Somerset Community Council. Sedgemoor and Citizens Advice would like us to be a pilot for their digital champion scheme, which we are now underway with. This will mean that we will be able to provide help and support to those people who lack confidence in using a computer. The food bank are happy for us to pick up boxes for people to collect from the cafe. Age UK will be able to attend sessions and support where necessary. The Good Neighbours scheme is supported by Somerset Community Council, and we have been successful in gaining funding from Hinkley Point C Community Fund, which we were able to kickstart the initiative with. We are really pleased to have established a link with the Residents Association. It will be good to work together for our community. And then she finishes off with, it has been a difficult time for everyone over the last year. We can now start to work together to support those who have become isolated and more alone. I am pleased to say that our cafes opened on the 20th and 22nd of July and have proved a great success. Considering it was a very hot week, we were pleased that both cafes attracted 15 people, of whom at least 50% were unknown to us. This is a great start. The village agent gained a client at each venue, and Melissa from Sedgemoor was able to talk to the people about their computer skills.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very comprehensive. Members, do you have any questions you would like to ask Sherry? I noticed the prior applications and the grant request is £2,000. To whom else have you applied for funding?
At the moment, just the HPC, the Hinkley Point Community Fund. I've sort of been delegated the task of trying to source other funding. So I'm in the process of doing a bit of research to find out where we might also be able to apply for some money.
Thank you. Members, do you have any further questions on these points? It's a very imaginative programme, and I would guess it's very badly needed. If there are no further questions and there's no debate,
I think Shannon has one.
Shannon wants to ask a question, Chair.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify something. Because the insurance and safeguarding equals £540 in kind, this isn't an expense they have to fork out. It brings the total amount of the project down to £3,800. This meaning if you were to grant 50% of that total cost of the project, it would mean that instead of granting £2,000, you would only be able to grant up to £1,900, just purely because obviously of the 50% of the project costs. So that would be the case in this situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Members, comments, please. In that case, the proposal is that this application should receive 1,900 rather than 2,000 asked for. May I have a proposer? Thank you. Councillor Brian Bolt proposed. Councillor Julie Cordner seconded. May I have a show of hands for voting, please? Those in favour? That appears to be unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And would you keep us informed as the project goes along?
Yeah, yes, of course, absolutely. And please do feel free. It's on a Tuesday afternoon in Barrow and Thursday afternoon in Breen. And if you would love to come along, we'd love to see you.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you very much for coming to visit us. Now, our next application is Sheb Asol Ensemble, CLC. There is no one here to represent this group, but Shannon has got a statement from the applicant and some background information.
Thank you, Chair. So Sheba Soul Ensemble CIC is Appendix C. This group would like to deliver 5 performances and workshops in primary schools to coincide with Black History Month. I have a statement to read from the group on their behalf as they're unable to attend today's meeting.
Please would do that.
We regret not being able to attend, but we are knee-deep in Holiday Club. Sedgemoor has a proud history when it comes to tackling racism and oppression. The fact that every adult resident in Bridgewater signed a petition demanding the end of slavery in brackets, and was the only town in the country to take such impressive action speaks volumes about community awareness and a deep concern for inequality in the world. The fact that Bridgewater Arts Centre was the very first art centre to be built in the country also testifies to Bridgewater being ahead of the crowd when it comes to understanding the central, enriching and therapeutic role that the arts are able to play in our lives. At Sheba Soul Symbol, we believe in the transformational power of the arts to bring people suddenly to new realizations, to leave a lasting imprint on people's thinking and behaviour. It is a sad reality that Britain is a country where equality continues to increase and where mistrust between communities continues to fester. A Guardian article published on Friday the 30th of July refers to the Home Affairs Committee report. The article states, police and government have done too little to stamp out racial injustice in the ranks, with failings being systematic and leading to unjustified inequalities. A report by an all-party committee of MPs have found. In this incoming Black History Month in October, we are proposing to plant seeds of equality and compassion in the minds and hearts of primary children. We have specifically designed interactive hour-long children performances which stresses the importance of friendship, kindness, support and understanding whilst also correcting the impression children may have through prevalent Western media images of Africa being a continent of poverty with no achievements of any merit in its name. We are requesting your support in delivering performances and workshops in 5 Sedgemoor primary schools. Catering, we anticipate for 500 pupils. We intend to harness theatre's residing power to allow this cohort of children to incorporate a deep understanding of equality, solidarity, and kindness into their everyday lives. We would be delighted if some councillors would be present at the performances. Many thanks. I can't pronounce the name. I'm so sorry if I get this wrong. Akula Agbimi.
Agbami.
That's it for Sheba Soul Ensemble. I just wanted to clarify. I spoke to the lady before this meeting, and she has said to me that unfortunately they haven't yet got any performances booked in for next year when it starts for the school academic year, but this is due to the fact that they're not obviously sure if the funding would be secured, and they didn't want to mess the schools around and ruin their reputation by being booked in and then having to be pulled out, obviously if the funds were not available. But they did say any recommendations or areas where you guys or anyone else thinks that they should be going to, they would be happy to contact any schools, rural or urban, in Bridgewater, Highbridge, North Petherton and any outlying schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, there's a lot to think about within that letter. Julie, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm 100% supportive of this application, and I feel it's just the kind of application that we should be supporting. Having had mixed race children going through the school system myself, I know how difficult it can be sometimes for those children, and I think addressing issues through art and drama in a soft approach way is invaluable. So I would like to support this.
Thank you. That is a very powerful argument. I would ask you to, I'll direct your attention to what Shannon said. At the moment, there are no bookings for the next year because of the uncertainty. We might be able to remove some of that uncertainty. I saw someone's hand go up, then it came down. Oh, Charlie, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to address that particular issue, but I do see that it is important, and maybe some sort of caveat could be put in that if we award the funds and then they aren't able to take the project forward, I imagine that there's normally a caveat like that in our agreements anyway, that we would get the money back. What I was going to say was, I'm just thinking about how this could have a wider impact, and I do notice that in the section about meeting the criteria in the report, there's a involving a digital element. Now, does that mean, and could we encourage them to make a film version of their performance that then becomes available to a wider group of schools with perhaps some online supporting teaching information? It would be a shame if this was just done for 2 or 3 schools and was not accessible. To me, there needs to be far more accessibility than just the 1,300 people they say they are targeting.
Could that be put in as a request? We cannot impose it, but there's nothing to stop making a request to the organiser. Members, are there any other questions that you would like to put for clarification or comments on the statement? Sorry, Charlie?
Clarification. One clarification, if you can hear me.
Yes.
They've only got 18.
You're coming and going.
The bank. Sorry, they've got £2,618 in the bank, and yet they're going to put £2,650 of their own money. So they are putting in more money than they actually have.
You're muted, Shannon.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Thank you, Chair. I mean, I can't answer that question if I'm being honest. Obviously, that's the figures that they've given me. Whether or not that means they've got £31.93 somewhere else. Obviously, I cannot comment on that, unfortunately. Yeah, again, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately.
Well, this was written and submitted a month ago. The actual balance may well have changed very slightly since then, and the difference is very small. Dorothy, is this small enough for us to disregard at this stage?
Thank you, Chair. I think if you end up with a proposal that you're making the funding available subject to all other required funding being in place, that the issue of the bank accounts actually falls away.
Members, are you satisfied with that? That meets the requirements. Are there any further questions? No. Oh, sorry, Liz.
Yes. Yes, I would like to second the proposal.
Thank you. Now, this proposal for £2,500, it has been formally proposed and seconded. Oh, sorry, Dorothy, before we go to the vote, Dorothy has a statement.
No, not a statement, a question. Who actually proposed?
Oh, Julie Cordner was the proposer.
And was, just for the avoidance of any doubt, the proposal, was it subject to any conditions or was it to award?
The proposal did not at that stage make any conditions, but subject to legal advice. Julie, would you be willing to add to your proposal?
Yes, definitely.
Dorothy's advice.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So what Dorothy said, yeah.
Thank you. Liz, are you happy to second that amended wording?
Yes, yes, I will. Yes.
Thank you very much. Members, now may we have a show of hands to accept? Thank you. That looks to be an unanimous. If you could write to the applicant accordingly and ask if we may have an invitation to the Sedgemoor schools when they have made their appointments.
I can do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, our next one, scrolling down, is the Nornan project, Friends of the Princess voluntary group. I believe this group has a representative present. Corinne Curtis. Corinne, welcome. You're muted at the moment.
Hello.
Shannon, would you introduce the project, and then I'll ask Corinne if she would enlarge upon the detail.
Yeah, no worries, Chair. So Appendix D is the Nornan Project Friends of the Princess. So their project is led by Burnham residents and producer Corinne Curtis. The Nornan Project will engage with the community to co-create a professional theatrical show about the wrecking of the Nornan in 1897 and the rescue of the crew and their dog by the Burnham lifeboat crew. And as you said, Chair, Corinne is here to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Corinne, could you expand on the detail of this project, which sounds very, very ambitious?
Absolutely, yes, thank you. I think ambitious is probably the right word. I'd just like to say very quickly that I just want to applaud and echo a lot of what Sheva Soul Ensemble said in their statement. I think the things that they said are so, so important and sort of rings with a lot of what I would like to achieve with this project. So yeah, I'm a professional actor and producer, Burnham born and bred, and I'm partnering with the Princess on this project, which is why we've come, I'm sort of representing for this particular project. So yeah, as Shannon said, it's about the Nornan, which is the ship that was wrecked just off Barrow Sands in 1897. So next year will be the 125th anniversary. It's the project is in two phases, and this is the first part of it, which is to create the story of that event. It was a big success, although there was a wreck. Everyone on board was rescued, including the dog, and they were given refuge by locals. And I really want to celebrate that sort of community effort and that period of our heritage, because although it's a really popular landmark, you know, a lot of people go and take photos of it. A lot of people don't know the story behind it. So particularly to mark that 125th anniversary, I want to bring it to life in a really joyful and engaging way. So there will be a lot of community outreach activities attached. There'll be local history talks and discussions where people can share their own local knowledge and stories. And also we'll have sort of theatre making workshops, so showing people what the devising process is, which is what we'll be using to create this show. So it's where we'll get a bunch of creatives in a room and start to work out the story, which will then go into a full script to be staged in a full production in the second phase of the project. So this will be absolutely a professional production. I just want to emphasize that. So there will be a lot of community engagement, but it's not a community show. So the community will be really putting in their ideas and thoughts and their voice. We really want this to reflect our communities. I don't want to just waltz in and say, I've done you a show, be grateful. So it'll be very much taking into account our community's kind of sense of identity, really, and celebrating that. There will be a lot of access embedded in this, so in terms of both physical access, so I'll be providing free accessible transport between activities for those who otherwise wouldn't be able to get there. All of the activities will be free of charge. They'll take place in accessible venues, and I have British Sign Language interpretation for every single event, and that includes the production itself. We'll be weaving BSL into the language of the production. But I'll also be looking at socioeconomic factors, so things like providing refreshments and making sure that there is food there. So again, that's not another reason for people to not be able to attend, particularly if it's over a meal time. Let me just look back at my notes because I've lost my train of thought. I really want to make sure that I can reach those who would most benefit from this. So the people who currently have the least access, particularly thinking about residents in Highbridge, where there's a much higher level of deprivation. So we're going to be really targeting sort of communities and groups there. And making sure that they've got the opportunity to learn, to come together as a community, to improve their confidence and their well-being, and really reduce isolation as well. It's really about bringing people together. So all of this is going to inform the production and how people want to see themselves represented. I just had a couple of quick updates. So I've received another grant. So Sedgemoor have confirmed That's £4,500, and Take Art have confirmed another £1,000. So that's another one confirmed. I'll be waiting on 3 others. Will be confirming in September, late September, very early October. There was slight correction just to the appendix. I think in project costs, it mentioned that activities, some of those activities will be in Highbridge Community Hall. That will actually be Moorland Community Hub. And in other funding, it mentions there was £328 of in-kind support. That's actually from the Brewhouse Theatre and Arts Centre. It somehow ended up as being said that it's from Burnham and Highbridge Town Council, but it's not. So I just wanted to clarify that. I think that's everything. I'll stop talking, but I'm more than happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Members, questions? There's a lot to take in here, a lot to think. It's very brave of you.
Thank you.
Back in the day when this incident happened, have you looked at things like the census of the time, and also some of the local maps which show what a very different population there was? And it actually adds a great deal of context to the bravery of the rescuers, how few residents there were in Burnham.
Absolutely. It's not something I've been able to look at in great detail so far. That will be coming through the research and development phase. So that's when we bring all of the cast and creatives together. So we'll be looking into that in advance. And we'll also look at that with when we take this into King Alfred School. So encouraging them to use the history talks to springboard into their own history research, and showing how you can then apply that that research creatively. So yeah, there's definitely things that I want to find out more about. I do know that it took them 4 hours there and back on the John Godfrey Morris lifeboat, and that was because although the storm that had wrecked the ship and multiple other ships in the area, although that had sort of abated, it was still pretty horrific weather conditions. Spoke to a family friend who does some sort of rowing and things in the area, and he said that trip would usually take you about half an hour there and half an hour back. So for it to take 4 hours just shows you how grueling it was.
Oh, the currents and tides are treacherous beyond words.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
So many people have said, are you going to do this show on the beach? I said, no, there's a reason there's a shipwreck.
Yes.
No.
Thank you. Julie, you have a question?
There he goes. Come here.
Yep. Sorry for my total ignorance about any of this, but where was the ship from? Sorry if you mentioned that as well.
No, I didn't. That's absolutely fine. So it was, I think, originally built in France and then was bought by a Norwegian company. So it was under Norwegian ownership at the time. It was travelling between sort of Norway and Brunswick in America. It was transporting turpentine and I've forgotten the other thing, but it was actually empty. They'd already offloaded. Okay. There were small elements of mystery around this because the preceding few weeks before the wreck are unaccounted for. So we don't actually know what their movements were. And the captain, who's the only one on board I've been able to find anything out about, actually had a subsequent ship which vanished. So I don't know if he was sort of incredibly inept or exceptionally unlucky, but there are little elements of mystery around it.
Well, there's a third agenda which we ought not to mention.
Indeed.
Thank you.
There were some other questions. Julie, do you want to continue? Your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry. No.
There's a legacy.
That's fine. Thank you.
There were some queries. If you could give some more detail of the in-kind. Liz, I believe you previously had a question about this.
Yeah, I think
it's on the second schedule of costs.
Yes, I think you answered the question of the in-kind, where that was coming from and how much. Is that right?
The £328. Or was that a different one? Sorry.
That was my fault, Chair. As Corinne said, I don't know where I got mixed up, but obviously I put Burnham and Highbridge Town Council, and it's not.
I think it was just the next line underneath. Something popped up. But yeah, £328 in kind is for audition space at the Brewhouse Theatre and Arts Centre in Taunton, because it's slightly more convenient in terms of travel. So if actors are coming in from the rest of the Southwest, it's also slightly more accessible. So for the audition purposes, it makes it easier. So they've offered that space in kind for us, and that's confirmed.
So, Dorothy, could I ask you, this now needs to be treated as a sum to be deducted from the total amount asked?
Yes, that's correct. So if it's an in-kind contribution that's being made by another organisation, then there isn't a funding hole there. So why would we be providing funding for something that isn't actually funded? So I would assume that the funding request reduces by £328.
Is that even though the full cost of the project is significantly higher than that? Because the amount that I'm asking for from Sedgemoor District Council is 2,500, whereas the total is over 50,000.
May I come back, Chair?
Yes, please.
I think the issue we've got is that we can only grant on the basis of the application that you've made, and unfortunately, if the application itself refers to that sum as match funding, sorry, in-kind funding. I don't know where I'm getting match funding from, and so on that basis, there's no logical reason for why we're giving you money for something that you aren't paying. I accept that the costs are huge, and if any members have a suggestion for how we might get around this, how they'd like to treat it, then we can consider that. But at this point, I don't see how we can.
Members, does anyone wish to comment on this point of how to treat the in-kind line on the list of costs? Now, in which case, I feel we are obliged to abide by our solicitor's advice. So the 2,500 minus the in-kind figure.
Divided by 2.
Pardon?
It's divided by 2 because it's 50% of the cost, isn't it? Or is my maths awry?
I haven't got my calculator to hand, and I would need one.
Chair, I think Shannon would like to come in.
Shannon, would you like to come in?
Yeah, sorry, Chair. I feel like a lot of this confusion is partly due to myself and how the report was written. So if I had taken the in-kind out and still done the total amount of the project, the total amount would still be a very large sum, meaning obviously that the 50% would still equal the maximum. But as Dorothy suggested, I guess the in-kind, but if that was the case, because there's another in-kind of £600, would that mean that in-kind would come off too? I'm not trying to make this more confusing. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here a little bit. But if you want me to do the total of the funding that's there without the in-kind and add that up, I can do that now and come back to you.
Thank you. Charlie, would you like to add something?
Yes, but aren't we working on the project cost? The project cost is 53,566. If we go to the other appendix, which is 55,590, that's got unknowns in because it's got 2 lines of unsures. So, you know, we've got no idea what that actual figure is. So we can only go on the project cost, which is 53,566. The in-kind is irrelevant here, I would suggest.
Dorothy, you wish to respond?
Well, on the basis that Charlie's comment, sorry, Councillor Rich's comment just now, I do apologise, that one suggestion is to look at the overall project cost, and in light of Shannon's comment that perhaps the figures weren't presented correctly due to an error, Then if members are so minded to award the £2,500 and it's proposed and granted, then I have nothing further to add.
Members, oh, Graham, you would like to come in? Mute.
I concur with Charlie. Actually, I think, I mean, if Corin had come to us and said, look, we're putting on this production, we need to find some funding for BSL translation, which I note is more than the actual actors' fees, with all the incredible, really, isn't it? To be a translator is anyway. Then we wouldn't have this confusion. So I'm inclined to I tell you what, I'll propose that we give the full amount.
Thank you. That is a formal proposal. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Julie has seconded that proposal, and this is for the full amount of 2,500. Are there any further questions? In which case, as this has been proposed and seconded properly, I will go to the vote. And may I have those who agree, show of hands, please? That looks to be unanimous. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
And do keep us informed of progress with invitations, please. They don't
Absolutely.
have to be gold-edged, but
absolutely. Yes. I'll be shouting about it from the rooftops.
Thank you very much for visiting us.
Oh, I think Graham's got his hand up again. I'll shut up. Sorry, that's not.
I was just going to say, my next door neighbour is one of the RNLI crew, and we've got some other friends who are on the crews. I think it'd be really lovely to make them the first invites that you send out, because it's a story close to their hearts, and they work really hard in horrible conditions in the middle of the night when they should be with their families for no reward. So yeah, I'd be delighted to come along as well myself.
You're absolutely right, because they put their lives on the line.
They absolutely do, and I'm going to be arranging a meeting with them fairly soon. I'm actually recovering from surgery at the moment, but I'll be hopefully meeting with them fairly soon, so maybe in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I've been hounding them because I definitely want their input and to use this to raise a lot more awareness of what they do as well.
Thank you very much for all of this information. There are no other items on the agenda. Has anyone got anything else I would like to raise? No comments? Thank you. In which case, as that is the full agenda, I will declare the meeting closed at 17 minutes past 3.